Now, the last book review I did, I asked a lot of you folks out there, what are some of your favorite books? And I loved the responses I've got. I got so many good books and recommendations. One of them I picked up was Fly Tying an International Guide by Taft Price. Jim McCutcheon recommended this one, so thank you, Jim. I love this book. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Savage Flies. I'm Matt. Thanks for stopping by. So about the pattern I found in this book, it's called the Governor Nymph. Now, this is the only place I saw this pattern at all. But in reading a little bit about it, I learned that it's the nymph form of the Governor Alvord, which is a really old classic fly. It shows up in Mary Orvis Marbury's favorite flies and their histories from the 1890s. It also shows up in Ray Bergman's trout. Now, the Governor Alvord, it's just a classic winged wet fly. It's got a red tag on it, so sometimes it's called the red-tagged Governor. So this nymph version, again, this is the only place I saw it, so I don't know if it's a forgotten fly or just a fly that was never popular to begin with. But it's a pretty cool pattern. It's not hard to tie. It reminds me a little bit of the carrot nymph because it's got that slender, tapered body, but, it's not bright orange, it's bright red. And it's a little bit different, and it's got a wingcase and then a throat hackle instead of a wrapped collar hackle. But it's a pretty easy pattern, pretty fun to tie. I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a shot. So there it is in the vise, a Governor Nymph. Common sizes for this, 10 or 12. I'm tying it on a size 12. It's a 2X long, barbless nymph hook. And I am using a black thread. This is a 70 denier. I'll lay a base down to the start of the bend. Now the tail on this guy, it's a red hen, which what they call red hen, today we kind of call it a ginger or light brown maybe. So it's not what the old timers would have called red, they call scarlet. So it's really a light brown. So take, a medium-sized clump of it. Not real long, but a little bit bushy, maybe that right there. Let's try a hook gap, maybe just a little bit less. So a couple wraps right there, watch the point of your hook. I think that's a good length right there. And I nicked my thread on my point there, so I don't know if you can see that, got a few stray fibers right there, but hey, we can live with that. So take your thread up to about the 2/3 point. That's where the front of our body is going to be. And we can probably build a taper with the red floss we're going to use, but I'm going to go ahead and spin, 6 or 7 inches of thread here and try to build a taper. So I'll just take it down and back, and then maybe halfway down and back up to try to get a little bit of an underbase so I don't need to use so much floss when I'm building this taper. Okay, that took a little while, and I don't know how much good I did, but I got a little bit of a taper there. So we'll see. If we need to make it thicker, we'll do that with the floss. So red floss, or what the old timers would have called a scarlet. Let's catch this in right up here at the front where our body's going to be. Just a loose wrap or two right there. So we can pull that to size. We won't have to trim it. And just leave your thread up here. Now I'm going to wrap this all the way down and then all the way back up, trying to keep it mostly flat. And then we'll see if I want to go down and back just to add a little bit more bulk to the front end. Okay, my floss is splitting up on me a little bit, but that body for the most part is pretty smooth. But I want it to be a little bit thicker up front. So I'm going to clockwise spin this floss to just tighten it up a little bit more of a cord than a ribbon, and go back halfway or so, and then just kind of back up. Whoa, let that slip. Don't do that. We can recover. I don't have a whole lot left. I had about a 10-inch piece of floss, and I'm going to use about 8 of those inches. So, all right, that's a little bit messy up front, but you know what? That's going to be covered with our Thorax. So let's go ahead and catch this off and snip this excess. And we got a okay shape right there. It's certainly not perfect, but it's good enough for a fishing fly. Now take your thread back to the front of that red and take a slip. The recipe calls for hen of a pheasant. So a hen pheasant, which I think that's what this feather is. I can't remember. If you don't have it, take something light brown and about a hook gap in width. So a little bit thicker than you might think you need because it'll bunch up a little bit on you. So I'm gonna catch it in with the ugly side up so that when I flip it over, I will have the shiny, nice brown side. Okay, so take a look at it before you really secure it. Fold it over. Is that gonna be long enough of a thorax? Nope, it's not. So let's go back several wraps right here and then check it again. Okay, now try that. Is that gonna be a long enough thorax? I wanted a little bit longer than that still. So I'm gonna take this back just a little bit more, and I think that's gonna do it right there. Yeah, that'll be a decent wing case. So either snip off these butt ends or just bury them, depending on how many you have. I didn't have too many, so I can get away with burying them. Now, peacock herl, the thorax. And I'm gonna do 2 strands. You could do 1 because we've kind of got some bulk under there already. We want this thorax to be just a little bit thicker than the front of that body, but it doesn't have to be a lot thicker. So I think this is gonna look fine right there. Take your thread back up to the front. Well, actually, let's leave our thread right here since I'm wrapping 2 strands of this peacock herl. If we leave our thread back closer to where we start, it'll help keep it from spreading out as we wrap it forward. And you can put some wraps on top of each other if you want to give it just a little bit more bulk. I think that's a thick enough thorax right there. Let's catch this off. Okay, we've got our body and our wing case and our thorax. Now take that same feather we used for the tail and we're going to tie in a throat. It's just a throat hackle. So I want to get probably about the same number of fibers that I had for the tail right there. And let's just catch this in right up in front of that thorax under the eye. Try a couple of wraps right there before we really secure it. How long do we want it? I think maybe to the hook point, not a whole lot longer than that, but just check your position and take a look at it. Is it coming off the bottom of the fly? I think so. So I'm happy enough with that. Oop, it spun around on me just a little bit. Let's get it back. And now a couple of locking wraps here. Okay, so that throat looks fine. Let's take it up here and we're gonna snip this off. Just get in here and get this as close as you can get it. You can probably, bury most of these in your head, but if you can trim them now, it will make for a neater head in just a second. Okay, I think that's gonna be fine. Now let's fold over this wing case. And I try to keep the fibers parallel. It just looks a little bit better if you don't have them crossing over each other. So let's take 2 wraps and then check it and see what we've got. How's that for our wing case? That's fine. So let's put a couple more wraps to lock it. And snip this excess off right here. Now we got a little bit of fuzz up there, but you know what? I think we can fix that. I think we can clean this up nicely. I'm gonna push this back with my thumbnail and then just take my thread right back behind the eye and build a little ramp back up. And that was probably enough of a head. It's a little bit messy, but I like my nymph heads to be a little bit bigger anyway, so I'm going to spin some extra thread wraps, just building this up a little bit so that the drop of head cement will give it a nice shiny, true head on the fly. So I think that's pretty pretty decent right there. Let's go ahead and do our whip finish. This Umpqua Dream Stream whip finish tool here that I reviewed a week or so ago. I still like this guy. I think we'll be good with the 4-turn right here because I'm going to put some UV resin on it. Now here's a tip when you can get away with it. On certain heads you can. You don't have to snip the thread. I just put some tension on it right there, pull it tight, take my scissors up here, right up under it, and then slice it. And that one wasn't a very good one because I didn't slice it all that close to the head. Don't do like I did. Try to snip it right up there close to it. But we got close enough. So a drop of head cement or UV resin, and this guy is done and ready to go in your box. So it's a pretty nifty looking pattern, not hard at all to tie. It's just a general mayfly nymph, but you know, with a red body. So that's it, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.